Deshaun Watson received a 6-game suspension handed down by disciplinary officer Sue L. Robinson. Now, Watson has been accused of sexual assault by 24 women. Watson had recently settled 23 of the 24 lawsuits. The NFL now has 3 days to decide if they would like to appeal the ruling. Okay. I mean, we've kind of talked about this earlier today. What was your reaction? Because 6 games, do you think that's enough?
Absolutely not. And from everything that's come out, it's one of those situations where you see the reasoning from the judge, and it was the quote pattern of behavior was egregious.
Yeah.
But she also said that it was nonviolent sexual conduct, and it makes it sound as if, look, if it was violent, like if he hit some of these people, then right, a bigger punishment. But it's like, well, he didn't, get rough with anybody, so this is the punishment. And it's really disconcerting for everybody involved, people who watch the NFL, people who don't watch the NFL, and it's this cycle and a culture where it's not conducive to victims.
Yeah.
Right? And it tells victims that, hey, listen, this happened, but also this dude could throw for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns.
Yeah. And
what do you value?
Yeah.
I look at it the same way that you did, where how it went down, does that really change what actually happened for the victims? I'm not exactly sure that their trauma is going to be less or more based off of how the actual assault goes down. So to hear it be talked about like that was really eye-opening. There's a pattern of behavior there. And as a part of this ruling, you say that he's only allowed to use the massage therapists that work on behalf of the ball club. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
It's like when you told Kyler Murray he needed to watch 4 hours of tape a week, it's because he's not watching enough tape. And so if you say that to Deshaun Watson, it's because you feel like he might have the propensity to go out and do this same thing again because he did it so many times. And so as I look at a 6-game suspension, I don't feel like it's enough. I don't think it sends a heavy enough message about how we value and respect women, especially women that work around sports. And this is a league that has talked about becoming more inclusive. They've talked about diversity, and they want women in positions of power. And if I'm one of those ladies, I sit back and I look and I say, how much are you gonna protect me if I get into one of those positions? Because you're not protecting the most vulnerable people either. And that's what really stinks. So the whole thing is, it's crazy to me. You look at Calvin Ridley, and I know it's a different thing. It's judged on a different scale. They have different rules. Man got a full season
for a same-game parlay.
But when you
for some
see
gambling.
it on paper and you say it out loud, you're like, how does this make sense, right? And I know the NFL, they were pushing for a longer suspension there, and they do have an opportunity to appeal. I'm curious if they will appeal. But, I mean, if you look at the past, if this was something that was maybe like 10 years ago, right? And just seeing how the NFL, they handle certain situations, I appreciate the fact that they're being more aggressive with this now, and I would hope that, more comes from this. But, yeah, like you said, this is why representation is so important now that there are women coaches, there are women in the front office, because if they didn't do something, how would that look to the women across the league and just women in general, right? So I appreciate them taking that step forward.
And women in the media who work around these athletes. And it's one of those situations where we talk, and we look at it like you talked about Calvin Ridley with the punishment. Marijuana, how that's been treated over there. You just look at all these different things, and it's just like, it sets a bad precedent that, hey, if you're pretty decent at football, you can kind of get away with some things and not have to. Because if you look at the way not only the Browns set up his contract, but the way they went about their offseason, it was as if they said, all right, we know we're not going to have Deshaun Watson for this year. We're going to get Jacoby Brissett. We're going to give him $1 million base salary this year, and then the real money kicks in next year when he'll be back. Like, all of this said, hey, we know what we've gotten ourselves into, and it's just really nasty. And any way you look at it.
And I just to put a bow on this part of the conversation, we'll continue this one later on, but the idea that an athlete can get away with more than somebody out in the public could is really disheartening. But when we're talking about this specific type of situation, sexual misconduct, allegations, and quite frankly, it looks like there's enough there for them to say that he was doing the wrong things. For him to be able to get away with that, I feel like it's mind-boggling to me.
And there's a lot more details that need to come out, but my mom has always said, when there's smoke, there's fire. So there's a lot more to be unfolded there.